Bill Gates has announced that he will start an institution called Melinda Bill Gates Foundation, and all his money, excepting a few dollars for his 2 children, 3 children, he will keep the whole thing, he will keep in a trust, and he will give all for charity. Whole thing goes to charity. And really he gave $30 billion and started Melinda Bill Gates Foundation, and that has already completed 10 years, and every year he has been the greatest donor for various causes. Now I can believe he must have read the books of Swami Vivekananda. But when I went to the website of Bill Gates, I wanted to confirm whether Bill Gates, I do not know how these newspapers, who are the newspapers, I was trying to find out. But there it is told that Bill Gates got the inspiration for charity from David Rockefeller. And David Rockefeller is the youngest child of John D. Rockefeller. So that gets the connection. So Swami Vivekananda inspired John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller inspired his son David Rockefeller. From David Rockefeller, Bill Gates got the connection. But whatever it is, what we are talking about, corporate responsibility, which has become the need of the hour. It's a very, very hot subject and topic on which we are all discussing. Swami Vivekananda for the first time talked about social responsibility, corporate responsibility. Not only that, the principle of trusteeship management. Though the seats of trusteeship management are all on the scriptures. Isha Vashapanishad says, Isha Vasamidam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Taktena Bhunji Tha Ma Gridakasya Siddhanam. The whole world is permeated by one universal consciousness. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat. Tena, because the whole world is one, it's a holistic universe. Even the modern science has proved it. Bell's theorem states all the particles of the whole universe are interconnected at a deeper level, and that has been verified experimentally by David Bohm, a Nobel Prize physicist. And that is why another Nobel Prize physicist, Schrodinger, says consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. So that same universal consciousness, it is one world, it's a holistic universe. The whole world is permeated by one universal consciousness. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. So Yatkincha Jagatyam. So what happens? Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha. Therefore, enjoy the world by renunciation. How can I enjoy the world? By giving up all the items. By renunciation, how can I enjoy? No, you need not renounce. You need not give up your Mercedes-Benz car or your latest model mobile or your latest model dress or your house that you have built. No. What you have to renounce? Tena, Tyaktena, Bhunjitha. Enjoy the world by renunciation. What you have to give up is not your car or not your mobile or not your house. What you have to give up? Tena, Tyaktena, Bhunjitha. Ma gridaka kasajidhanam. Do not covet others' wealth, and what you have to give up is your proprietorship, your attachment, your sense of attachment, your selfishness. It is this which is causing sorrow. Today, if all over the world, so many rich people, they are all suffering in spite of the wealth, is because of this. They are not able to give up the attachment to their wealth. They are not able to make charity to others. They are having lot of money, but they are getting suffocated because they are not having a free flow of that economy. The more you, Swami Vivekananda says, the more you give, the more will come back to you. Swami Vivekananda says, unselfishness is more paying in the long run. Unfortunately, people do not have the passions to practice it. And he says, you vacate the air out of this room, fresh air will come automatically. Once you start giving charity, more will come to you, more will come to you. I remember a very good joke. An unemployed graduate, unemployment is one of the features of our modern management. I went to a father, Christian father. Father, this is too much. I am not getting employment. I am suffering. He said, you see, you should pray to God. I am praying to God, but God is not listening to my prayer. I am praying to God for giving me job, but He is not giving, He is not listening. I said, then Father said, try to make the prayer more effective. How can I make the prayer more effective? Then he said, make it more holistic. If the more holistic the prayer, more unselfish the prayer, the quicker is the result. So try to make it little more holistic, little more unselfish. So what is the example? Example is like this. For example, if you tell God, God, if you give me the job, 10% I will give for charity. That makes it holistic. You are not only of your welfare, I will give 10% to charity for others. That makes it a holistic prayer. Okay, I don't mind. I have nothing, 0% income. If I get some income, 10%, I don't mind. And he started praying, oh Lord, if you give me a job, whatever money I get, 10% I give for charity, sure. He gave the promise. And after 1 week came to running, Father, it has worked. The holistic prayer has worked. And I have got a job of $100. So this is $10, Father, please for charity. Then after a few weeks he came, Father, I am getting $1,000. So here is $100. Then $10,000 he started getting. So he said $1,000. Then when he started getting $50,000, Father, this is too much. $5,000 I have to give for charity. It's a very big figure. Is there no other way out by which I can come out of it? Father was very intelligent. He said, you see, my son, you cannot take back the words that you have given, promise that you have given to God. There is no such, such system existing. But I can give you one thing. You tell God to reduce your salary so that you can have affordable donation. That you can give. But 10% you cannot reduce now. That you can reduce. You can tell your God to reduce your salary so that it is an affordable donation. Whatever it is, this unselfishness, this giving back to the society, this is a must. If we want happiness and peace, we must have at least 10%, 5%, 1%. You decide your own percentage. Some percentage of your income should go to charity. But try to see that it goes to the proper place. That is very important. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Bhakto hobi to hobi, boka hobi kano. Don't be a fool, be practical. So you give charity, or many corporate sectors are having now their own trust and their own NGOs. It's okay. Whatever it is, you try to see that the donation, that the charity goes to the proper person, try to utilize it. But if it goes to the real proper recipients, you will get the blessings of those poor people. Blessings of the Lord who is present already present on those in those pure people. The blessings of the Lord will be there, and you will get immediate peace of mind. So this trusteeship management, that is the concept of, maybe polarized by others, but for the first time in the corporate sector, Swami Vivekananda introduced it, and now we are talking about corporate responsibility. Another thing now in America, and of course in the whole world, one more, a term is becoming very popular, and that is called servant leadership. John Greenleaf, he started this concept in 1970 in America. But now it is catching up, and all over the world now they are talking about servant leadership. But what is servant leadership? Servant leadership is not taking the credit to yourself as a leader. You inspire your colleagues, you inspire your subordinates by your example, not by preaching, but by your own example. And don't dictate them. Just share your ideas with them, inspire them, not order them, but inspire them. Hire and fire method will not work. There is a beautiful book by Peter Drucker, Managing in the Next Millennium, where he says, managers and executives are going to be more and more ineffectual with no authority whatsoever over their subordinates in the 21st century. Managers and executives from now onwards are going to be more and more ineffectual with no authority whatsoever their subordinates. You can see for yourself, you are also experiencing this, that no more you can demand that type of obedience from your subordinates. Why? He says, because it's going to be a knowledge society. The 21st century is going to be a century of knowledge society. Previously, what you were working with, the people with whom you were working were having all blue-collar jobs. Very few white-collar jobs. Now, reverse thing has happened. Most of them are white-collar jobs. The blue-collar jobs is being done by computers. And some of them are computer experts, IT professionals. How do you control them? Who are having more IQ than you? Who are having better IQ than you? How do you control them? You will not be able to control them through power and position and through order. But you can control them through love, through the attitude of service, through the attitude of sharing your power with them. That is the new concept of management that is coming. Swami Vivekananda practiced this servant leadership more than 100 years back. He practiced it. What did he do? When he started Ramakrishna Mission, he started mission not in his name, in the name of his Guru, Sri Ramakrishna. And why did he start it? For giving a practical demonstration of the message that was given by Sri Ramakrishna. That is, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Sri Ramakrishna said, Lord is present everywhere. In the churches, in the mosques, in the temples. But the greatest Lord is present in each and every human being. That is why Swami Vivekananda wrote to his Guru Bhais beautiful letter. He said, so far you had heard the mantras. What are the mantras you had heard? Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. I am giving you some additional mantras which are more important for the modern age. What are those mantras? Daridra Devo Bhava, Rogi Devo Bhava. Worship the Lord who is present in the poor people. Worship the Lord who is present in the sick people. That is why in our hospitals, we don't call them hospitals. These are all our Seva Pratishthan. Biggest hospital is just nearby. Shishu Mangal, now it is called Seva Pratishthan. It is an experiment on serving the God in human form. So in Benares, we call it Narayan Bhandar. Narayan Bhandar is the Bhandar from where the food is given to the patients. And the monks take the prasad of this Rogi Narayana. From Narayan Bhandara, first of all, the patients have been given the food. Whatever is remaining, that is taken by the monks. Because they are all Narayana. We have to take prasad. So these are all Rogi Narayana. Daridra Narayana. We are not doing social service. We are trying to worship the God who is present in the temple, in the church, in the mosque. The same God is present in the poor people, in the sick people. So all the time we are worshipping God. So Swami Vivekananda gave that new mandate. Work is worship. Not just by false imagination of work is worship. No. He did not equate it that you just pray to Lord and then you offer your fruits to the Lord. That is Gita way of worship, converting work into worship. But Swami Vivekananda gave a new holistic way of converting work into worship. Why? He said, the same Lord is present everywhere. It is the one universal consciousness present everywhere, inside every human being. And so what happens? If one and many be the same reality, it is not only all modes of work, all modes of worship, but all modes of work also become worship. So Nivedita, Sister Nivedita, gave a beautiful introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, 9 volumes. She says in the introduction, this is the realization which makes Vivekananda the great preacher of karma, not as divorced from, but as expressing jnana and bhakti. To him the workshop, the farmyard, the laboratory are as true and fit scenes for meeting God with man as the door of a temple or the cell of a monk. So, whole thing becomes a holistic thing. The whole thing becomes a very, very sacred thing. No difference henceforth between sacred and secular, Nivedita says. No difference henceforth between sacred and secular. Everything is sacred. To work is to worship. To labor is to pray. And to renounce is to conquer. No difference between sacred and secular. This sacred and secular symbiosis, that is the greatest gift of Swami Vivekananda to the modern age. He says, this is the message of practical Vedanta. By application of this Vedanta, a fisherman will become a better fisherman, a manager will become a better manager, an executive will become a better executive. Wherever you are, by the application of this Vedanta, you develop that supra-efficiency. Now they are talking about zero defect, TQM. Bhagavad Gita, it is already told, Buddhi yukta jahatiha ubhe sukrita duskrite tasmat yoga yujasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. What is yoga? Dexterity in action, efficiency in action, 100% efficiency, 0% defect. That is how work is getting converted into worship. Work can be converted to worship with full concentration, with 100% efficiency. That makes the work worship. But most important is the attitude. I am not working. No, what I am doing is worshipping the Lord who is present in the form of a poor person. So this experiment was done. Swami Vivekananda had a vision, but he was not only visionary. He was a visionary, but he was also a missionary. Two in one, visionary and missionary. He had a great vision. He wrote to Miss Mary Hell, beautiful letter, Miss Mary Hell. He wrote a beautiful letter in the month of June from Almora. And there he is. If you read that letter, you get the whole mission and vision of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda writes, Mary, I had to talk a lot about myself because I owed that to you. Now I feel my task is done. At the most, 3 or 4 years of life are left behind. You know, he is writing in 1897 and 1902 he passed away. Before 5 years he is writing, at the most 3 or 4 years of life are left behind. I never wanted earthly enjoyments. I have lost all wish for my salvation. I must see my machine in strong working order. And knowing for certain that I have put in a lever for the good of humanity, which no power can yet drive back, at least in India, I will sleep without caring what will be next. And may I be born again and again, and suffer thousands of miseries, so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God that I believe in, the sum total of all souls, and above all, my God the wicked, my God the miserable, my God the poor of all races, of all species, is the special object of my worship. It is for worshipping that God present in wicked. We are going to the prison houses and we are telling, you are also God. Atman is there inside each and every human being. Only covering has come. Somewhere the covering is thin. If you have done 7 murders, covering is thick. If you have done 14 murders, the covering is still thicker, but it is a covering. Atman is never spoiled by any amount of work. That is always splendorous. That is what Swami Vivekananda told in the Parliament of Religions. Ye children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings, ye divinities and us sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a tiny libel on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake up the delusion that you are sheep. Your souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. Ye are not matter, ye are not bodies. Matter is the servant, not ye the servant of matter. It is for this worship of the God in human beings that Swami Vivekananda started Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. He started Ramakrishna Mission. And as I told you, when a person starts an institution, when he dies, the institution gets closed after a few days or few years. But Swami Vivekananda passed away on 4 July 1902. There was 1 center in New York, 5 centers there were in India, total 6 centers. And today, after the passing of Swami Vivekananda, after 110 years, there are 174 branch centers all over the world, 40 abroad, rest in India, and 1,000 non-affiliated centers with 14 indoor hospitals, 90 outdoor dispensaries, 60 mobile dispensaries, removing the sufferings of approximately 1 crore of patients free of cost. These medicines are given, treatment is given free of cost, minimum 1 crore people per year. 6,000 educational institutions where 6 lakh students are being given value education along with the proper education. And they are all, the results of Ramakrishna Mission schools, colleges, not only top in academic brilliance, but also in character building. Some of the best people have been given by our institutions. And rural and tribal development projects, so many rural and tribal development projects. And whenever there is a disaster, the first day Ramakrishna Mission is there. Everybody knows. We do not wait for any call from the government or even from the public. And not only that, even the public says no, still we do the work. Yes, this has really happened. One of the villages when I was in Porbandar, I'm now in 6 years, from 6, we also get transferred. So we have 174 centers. From 6 years I'm in Baroda. 8 years I was in Porbandar. Before that 10 years I was in Rajkot, editing Gujarati Monthly. Before that 10 years I was in Ranchi, one of the best Krishi Vigyan Kendras of the country, a big tribal development project. I was there for 10 years. Likewise, we get transferred. So when I was in Porbandar, there was, on 26 January 2001, there was the earthquake. And we came to know that one of the villages nearby, all the houses have collapsed. And so we went there and started a kitchen. Now, those who were from the higher caste, they said, you give us all the items, we will take care of your relief work. He said, no, we want to worship God with our own eyes, with our own hands. So we will be doing ours. No, you give the food and you go away. That means they wanted to, as they thought like government people have come and we take away the whole thing. We said no. Then after a few days they said, now you must close the kitchen because now we are well up. But we came to know that some of the poor Harijans were still starving and they had not yet got the job because there was so much of problem all around. We said, we are going to continue this kitchen as long as even a single person is without food. Then, do you know the consequences? Do you know the consequences? It was a gang leader. Later on I came to know that village was the most notorious village, and perhaps that is why all the houses had collapsed. Maybe, called law of karma. But we have to do the work where maximum collapse is there. Our law of karma is like this. So, we wanted to do work there, and this person, they are very notorious gang leader, he said, do you know the consequence? I said, I know the consequence. I am a monk. As monks, we first of all do our own shraddha, and then we take the sannyasa, so we are not afraid of death. He was not prepared for this type of reply. And then our kitchen continued. Later on, they came to know our activities, and when the colony was built, afterwards we had our kitchen, we had primarily, then we had a big colony. When the colony was, the inauguration day, the same gang leader came, Swamiji, you have constructed the houses, you have constructed the community hall, you have constructed a temple, everything is okay. But today, whole village will be fed by us. And so we will contribute, all the villagers, now we will feed you. And there will be community dinner. This is how the transformation took place. Whatever it is. But this disaster management and everything, all these activities are going on after the passing away of Swami Vivekananda. So just now, Mr. Aikat had very nicely quoted Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, he said this to Mr. Eric Hammond when he was in England. It may be that I shall find it good to get outside of this body, to cast it off like a disused garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. And so Swamiji is still surviving in the fine form, and that is why perhaps he has inspired you to have this program today here. And so Swami Vivekananda he practiced servant leadership, and he started Ramakrishna Mission not in his own name, in the name of his Guru. But he himself did not become the first president. What is servant leadership? What is nobility of leadership? Mahatma Gandhi also practiced servant leadership. When Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam had come to inaugurate one of the 81 school buildings we had constructed as a part of earthquake rehabilitation, that was on 13 February 2002. He had come to Porbandar. And that time he gave a very inspiring speech to 3,000 youths, and then they asked, what is the source of inspiration? Then Dr. Kalam said, normally I do not leak out this secret, but this is the right place to leak out this secret, Porbandar. Then he said, I was in 8th standard, I was a monitor of my school. My headmaster called me, he said, tonight, you have to call all the students to the school, let them listen to the running commentary on radio, no TV at that time. 15th August 1947, India will become independent, let them listen to the running commentary. So Dr. Kalam said, I gathered all the students and we listened to the running commentary. We were very happy that India has become independent, but that time we knew only Tamil. We didn't know Hindi or English, so we could not understand the speech, but we were very happy. Then Dr. Kalam said, next day I saw newspapers. I saw a photograph showing Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru hoisting the Indian flag on the Red Fort. And he said, I was so happy to see that flag. Then he said, by the side was another photograph. There's another photograph. And then Dr. Kalam said, that second photograph was my primary education, was my secondary education, was my college education, and was my life education. And what was that photograph? That photograph was showing that when the whole nation was rejoicing because of the independence of India, the one person who made this singularly possible with his own vision and with his own sacrifice, that person was not rejoicing. He was walking barefooted in the streets of Kolkata, wiping the tears of the people who had been suffering because of the Nawakali riots, Mahatma Gandhi. And then he said, I could understand what is the nobility of leadership. He could have become the first Prime Minister of India. For sacrifice, he was first. For getting the fruits, he was the last. That is what Swami Vivekananda says. What is the secret of leadership? He said, this is what is leadership. Sirdar, wahi Sardar. कौन सरदार बन सकता है? जो सिर दे सकता है. One who can sacrifice his ego, one who can sacrifice his selfishness, one who can sacrifice his prejudices, he alone can become a successful leader. So Sirdar, wahi Sardar. That is servant leadership. That was practiced by Mahatma Gandhi, and that was practiced by Swami Vivekananda. When Swamiji was in America, he drafted the trust deed of Ramakrishna Mutt, which has to be registered in the Belur here registry office, and he made his brother disciple Swami Brahmananda as the first president. He did not become the first. He did not take the power position. For sacrificing, he was ahead. For getting the benefit, he was the last. When he came back from America, whatever little money he could collect through his great work, how much hard he worked, he almost gave the blood of his whole body. Can you imagine? So many lectures, so much of touring within a short span. He spent the whole force. And in fact, when he was giving up his body on 4 July 1902, just 2 days before, he told his disciples, when I die, cremate me here. He showed a spot near the Bellu tree. And really, after 2 days, the body was cremated on the same spot. Now you find the temple of Swami Vivekananda. If you go to Belur Mutt, you will find temple of Swami. That is on the spot where Swami Vivekananda's body was cremated. But Swami Vivekananda had predicted. He said, when I die, you cremate me here. That time nobody took seriously because he was only 39 years. But one disciple asked, Swami, why you want to give up your body so quickly, so early? He's only 39 years. Then Swami Vivekananda said, I have done enough for next 1500 years. 1500 years. Whatever I have given the message, it will take 1500 years for us to implement that message. I have done enough for next 1500 years. Swamiji said that he is with us in fine form to work out this message, but he has given a mandate to us that he has done enough for 1500 years. That whole, so much of homework he has given to us. Whatever ideas, even one idea, to implement that idea is a big thing. And he put this machinery. Not only that he talked theoretically, but he put a machinery to demonstrate this model of whether really worship of God in man can be done. Yes, here is the Ramakrishna mission. The monks who are supposed to meditate in the Himalayas, the monks who are supposed to only meditate and take the name of the Lord, are now going to the slums and wiping the tears of the widowed people, wiping the tears of the afflicted people, educating the poor, educating the masses, educating the women. This is what was never thought of. Swami Vivekananda was a revolutionary monk. He said, monks, he told, give them the mantra. No Atmano Mokshartham now. He gave a new mantra. Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya cha. Yes, Atmano Mokshartham will be there, but not remaining in the cave, not remaining in Himalayas, not going to the forest. Living in the society, serving the society, you have to advance further. So that type of, that servant leadership was practically demonstrated by Swami